At 34, Owen had carved out a successful business and solidified a decent financial standing, but he suddenly found himself feeling isolated. All his pals had settled into family life or steady relationships, while he hadn't spared the time for that. First, he built his business from the ground up, then struggled to keep it steady. When things finally began to stabilize, he attempted to kindle a relationship, but nothing seemed to stick. Opportunistic women who only craved his wealth frustrated him, and the others he encountered just didn't click. Gradually, he sank into a pit of despair, seeking solace in booze, bars, and clubs. It was in one such club that fate brought him to his future wife. Nora, a social butterfly and regular at night spots, caught Owen's eye with her beauty. He was instantly smitten and managed to secure her phone number by the end of that night. What followed was a whirlwind romance. Relentless wooing, memorable dates, and lavish presents. Just 2 months into their relationship, a terrified and tearful Nora broke the news of her positive pregnancy test. She braced for Owen's reaction, unsure of his feelings, but Owen's joy was unmistakable. He swept her into his arms and twirled her around, ecstatic at the prospect of starting a family, something he realized he had been yearning for. This surprise pregnancy marked the beginning of Owen and Nora's journey together. His mother did not approve of her son's choice. In her view, Owen should have picked a wife who was his equal, an educated girl from a respectable family. Nora, who had neither significant family ties nor noteworthy education, annoyed the woman. "You picked a nobody, and you'll regret it." She spat into the phone, trying to knock some sense into him. Owen endured his mother's tirades in silence, staying firmly loyal to his wife, not rising to his mother's provocations. A year after the wedding and the birth of his son, the elderly woman cut all ties with her son's family. That situation didn't dishearten Nora. On the contrary, witnessing her husband's unwavering dedication, she grew more and more assured of his love. Though the break with his mother was unpleasant for Owen, he was willing to compromise for the sake of his beloved. Owen felt elated. Finally, he had all the things his friends, whom he previously envied, possessed. He took immense pride in his accomplishments: a thriving business, a gorgeous wife, and a lovely baby. He delighted in taking his wife to every event he attended, introducing her to his business associates. To him, it felt entirely natural to present his beloved to the world. Owen spared no expense to clothe her in the most elegant ensembles. But then came the confession. "I have nothing to wear." Nora pouted and extended her hand, prompting her spouse to hand her a credit card. In return, she flashed a smile and remarked, "Sweetie, you always pamper me." Yet it wasn't just her doting husband who indulged her. Her lover did too. They met with impressive regularity. At home, she would announce she was heading to the gym to perfect her form. But once the taxi dropped her at the fitness center, she swiftly hopped into another car, whisking her away to her clandestine rendezvous. Blinded by his affection, Owen was oblivious to her deceit. He held such unwavering faith in his wife that he couldn't fathom her capable of betrayal. To him, she was akin to a sinless angel, incapable of deceit. His trust in her was absolute. The first inkling that something was amiss crept in when he noticed a lavish bracelet adorning her slender wrist, a trinket he hadn't bought. Startled, he inquired, "Where did that come from?" as he touched the opulent accessory. For a fleeting second, panic flickered across Nora's face, but she quickly masked it with a beguiling smile, gently retracting her hand from his grasp. Paisley gave her this piece of jewelry. I mean, why would Paisley be so generous, right? "Don't worry, I'll buy you one," Owen blurted out, suddenly angry. But there was something in Nora's words that made him uneasy, even though he couldn't figure out what it was. This was the first time that alarm bells had rung for Owen. Suddenly, he became more attentive to his beloved. He was increasingly worried about the unexplained bruise on her buttock, the mysterious appearance of new things, frequent meetings with her friends and trips to the gym. Later, a friend mentioned a program that could track someone's movements on the phone. Intrigued, Owen decided to install it, and to his surprise, found that his wife often goes to different places immediately after leaving the fitness center. Every time the car stopped on the map, it immediately headed in a completely different direction. This was the last straw for Owen, and he decided to personally monitor his wife. When Nora got ready for training once again, Owen hurried after her. He had already ordered a taxi, which was waiting for him downstairs, having previously called. "Follow this car, please. I'll pay you extra for this," Owen instructed the driver, and the chase began. Nora, unaware of the impending troubles, went to the gym, as she did every day. Jumping out of the taxi, she went straight to another car. Owen looked at the car familiarly. He had driven it countless times. This car belonged to Wyatt, Owen's business partner. Owen's hands clenched into fists involuntarily. Parking unnoticed, they were out of sight of the couple. "Let's keep an eye on them," Owen said curtly to the driver. Nodding silently, the driver obeyed. Owen couldn't help but wonder where Wyatt was taking his wife. To his home, or perhaps to some fancy hotel. Just thinking about it made his stomach churn, and he rolled down the window to catch his breath. His life was crumbling right in front of his eyes. His mother was always right about Nora. She warned Owen, overcome with love, that he would regret the day he married Nora. Wyatt's car rolled into the hotel's parking lot. Owen paid the fare, dismissed the cab driver, and discreetly trailed the pair. From a distance, he watched through the grand panoramic windows. His business partner, Wyatt, confidently wrapped an arm around Nora's waist and planted a kiss on her temple. The sight of it made Owen's jaw clench fiercely. The lovers departed. The betrayed husband stormed into the reception area. With an abrupt gesture, he placed a handful of cash on the front desk and inquired about the room where the recently departed couple had been staying. "I can't disclose that," muttered the receptionist, looking startled by Owen's visibly enraged presence. "Which room?" he growled, slamming his fist on the countertop. The receptionist mumbled something, but Owen managed to catch a few numbers. Owen hurried up the stairs to the hotel's second floor. He pounded hard on the door twice, and then again. With each knock, his heart raced faster. Finally, he heard the door creak open. A surprised and fearful Wyatt stared at him through the open doorway. Behind Wyatt, Owen caught a glimpse of Nora. "You," he shouted, launching himself at Wyatt. A scuffle ensued. Nora wailed and sobbed, while her lover attempted to defend himself against her furious husband. Eventually, Owen, breathing heavily, released his adversary. He glanced at his wife. She wept, with mascara streaking her cheeks and her hair tousled. The very sight of it made him sick. As he left the hotel, he absent-mindedly handed a wad of banknotes to the clerk behind the counter. The employee, white as a sheet and trembling, did not have time to press the alarm clock because of his obvious fright. Mark was lucky that the young man's fear played into his hands. The details of his return home that night escaped him. He also couldn't remember how much alcohol he had drunk in an attempt to calm his aching soul. Met by a sleepy nanny who stayed overnight to look after his son, Mark collapsed on the floor in exhaustion and instantly lost consciousness. When he woke up around noon the next day, his child's joyful cries filled the air. Mark's head was pounding mercilessly, and the aroma of the soup that was boiling on the stove made his stomach twist. When Mark met the nanny in the kitchen, he blushed with embarrassment, although she kindly did not show it. Gathering all his determination, Mark faced the situation face to face, decisively dissolved his marriage, and initiated divorce proceedings. His wife initially fought for custody of their son, but Mark firmly insisted that the child stay with him, which made her reluctantly back down. Owen was struck by a double blow. He lost both the woman he cherished and the colleague with whom he had shared many fruitful years. Initially, the ordeal rattled him deeply, yet he managed to gather his wits and navigate through the crisis with grace. Nora and Wyatt had moved on within a year, casting aside her old flame. Stripped of financial support, she drifted from one friend's couch to another until she found the means to secure employment and eventually settled into a modest flat on the city's edge. Adapting to this stark new reality proved jarring for Nora, as she had grown accustomed to a life of opulence and leisure during her marriage. It's a common tale. We seldom cherish what we possess, only to lament its loss later on.